And we are back live. This is episode 3. Yay. A
In
Standard
the groove.
Deviation Podcast. And I'm using the right microphone this time.
Nice. This is the third episode of the trilogy, which
Exactly.
we'll have more episodes. But it's like the return of the king or the queen, however you want it.
Yeah, after the episode we did with Tan Wesseling last time, we set the bar high. So I feel
Mm-hmm.
like the guest we have today it might make it a problem for the next guest because I think our guests are setting the bar high every
They
time.
are, and they're making us look bad. Like they are so
Yeah.
interesting and funny, and then we are what we are. We're the necessary evil you have to get through in order to interact with our wonderful guests.
Yeah, we're
Um,
very lucky to have a great series of guests coming this season.
yes.
And yet, what are
Yeah.
we talking about today, Simo?
Well, I want to talk about the fact that I stepped on a Lego the first thing when I woke up this morning, and it was horrible. Like I am actually a very good morning person. I wake up really early, and my kids also wake up early. My wife is not such a person, so we have this deal that I'm or it's not a deal. It's just a routine where I wake up early with the kids. But the underlying assumption that I'm going to have a good morning kind of precludes that I don't step on a Lego. And I saw this life hack related just before like last night before this episode or this whole thing happened, where somebody built like Lego shoes for themselves, so they were immune to Legos, and in fact, when they step on Legos, they become taller. And I thought
Yeah.
that was just a wonderful life hack. I'm gonna have to start doing that in the mornings. But yeah, it was a rude awakening. But now I'm all chirpy, and it's weekend is coming, and it's everything
Oh,
is fine.
man.
How are you?
Yeah. I'm good. I'm good. Excited about our guest today, and
Yeah.
excited also about the weekend. Not excited about kids being in vacation next week. I know you are, but I'm not.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this episode it's gonna be really really interesting to talk about. Do you wanna like
Yeah.
divulge the secret of this episode?
Well, I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens when we start talking to the guests, um,
Correct.
but we are going to set the stage here. So one of the things that I've given up, partly at least, is agency life. Even though I'm still technically part of, or I am part of 8-bit Cheap, which is, you could call it an agency, even though it's not such in a traditional way. But the idea that you might have a new customer every or a new client every week, you have to constantly kind of reinvent yourself. You have to create templates and reports and retainers and billable hours and so on. So I mean, you just started at Media Monks, which is an agency, although so much more as well. But they do have the agency component as well. So how do you like that life? Like, why was it so clear for you that you want to enter that world or keep staying in that world?
It wasn't clear because this is my first time working in an agency.
Oh
As you
yeah,
know, I always work client side or vendor side. But I think in my case, because I wanted to move to digital analytics agency, is kind of like mostly the de facto for digital analysts, besides the in-house ones, which are very rare mythical creatures, in my opinion, because mostly everyone is working either as a freelancer or at a contractor or in an agency. And I guess, like, yeah, the reason why I'm here is because of Julian and Doug, because they're like the biggest nerds ever, and they sell. God damn it, they sell it very well. But to be truthful to you, actually, just beside before we started recording, I was talking to one of our directors and about my projects, and I realized that I'm working right now on probably like 6 clients at the same time.
yeah,
And for me it's exciting because you learn from one, and you know it's like compounding knowledge. But at the same time it's very hard to go from one to another,
mm,
especially if they're like totally different business models, totally different problems, different
yeah,
tools. And it's exhausting sometimes. And if you were to ask me a few years ago if I would do this, I would probably have said no.
yeah,
But now that I am doing this, I just think it's like one of those things that you have to go through as a professional career just to know how it is and understand how it works, and contracts and billable hours. And it's a lot of stuff to wrap
yeah.
your hand around to. But that doesn't mean that I don't dream that one day I would freelance and be on my own. But I feel like it's not there yet for me because you still need to learn how things
Yeah.
work.
I think that's an interesting point. Like you're dreaming about freelancing. I am already like doing that. And for both of us, I think it's kind of a progression goal that
Yeah.
you do the work in employment, and then you are your own employer. But I don't like I'm curious if other people share that view, because obviously there are many people who are just who don't want to go out alone, who for whatever reason, maybe it's stability, maybe it's they don't want to be in control in that way, or they have a wonderful employer whom they never want to leave, or they have only good experiences from employment, and they know that the next one they'll go to will also be really nice. So it's kind of interesting to hear what kind of different progressions there are. When I was working agency side, before I ever considered being an entrepreneur, I always thought that the logical progression was to go in house. Like
Yeah.
I because I've been a consultant all my life. Like I've never worked in house, other than like technically in house when I was in academia, but I've always worked for clients. I've always sold to clients, and I've always, especially in those like sales situations, I've always envied the client because they have all the power. They can be like, "Come on, talk to me, sell me your wares, sell me this pen, sell me this pen," and I've always envied like that. Man, that's such an amazing power. And I always thought that's going to be my goal, is to find a really cool company where I can just stay with them and not worry about like the thing you mentioned, like context switching from one
Yeah.
client to another. Um, but then I think that what happened to me was that I realized that this is just like a fixation on that one very particular power imbalance that I was thirsty for, and in the end I never considered that to be a good reason to go in house. So I kind of logically thought that I have a certain skill set which performs very well in the market. Why should I do this for an employer anymore? And I don't want to do it in house. So then I, of course, have to become my own employer. So for me, it was a very, very logical thing. Do
And
you
I
think that's
believe
what
you had
happened to you
so many
too?
people. Oh yeah, for sure. And I believe so many people try to hire you. Like if you would say right now, I wanna
I'm
be.
gonna be honest with you, and this is absolutely honest. Also because I hate LinkedIn, and I've made it a very clear point that I hate it, and it's all over my profile. That please don't be in touch with me. Um, I have never been headhunted. I've never been like my my most recent employer, and I love them. I still work with them and for them in many capacities, and I just admire them. But Reactor, this
Hmm.
Finnish company, they didn't headhunt me, but I did meet the team at Super Week. One Super Week, they brought their team there, and we just had a great discussion. And I just loved their approach to company culture. And then one of them said that, okay, hey, by the way, we'd be really interested if you want to join Reactor. And I thought that I was being headhunted. I thought, wow, cool. Okay, I'll just fine, I'll join you. And then he's like, there are like 5 different interview levels you have to pass. Like, we're not giving you like a card. I'm just saying that we'd love to have you if you want to apply. So
Wow.
I've never had that. And this isn't me feeling sorry. I absolutely do not want to be headhunted. I am very, very happy being in charge of my own job hunt. And well, right now I'm pretty certain that I will never ever hunt for a job, knocking on wood. But anyway, so it's for me for me it's certainly been like I've gone out of my way to look for employers that I want to work for,
And
rather
also,
than
you
waiting.
have built a great thing with Simmer, and I think it's such a great platform for people to learn from, but also like get a bit of your experience with because I think you are who you are because you had this experience of in-house and agency and consultancy.
Mhm.
Like it helps you, and I think I actually wanted to ask, like in a way, when you're building these courses and curriculums, do you also have in mind, like that structure of how things should be, I guess, used in the day to day? Because I saw you wrote this article about the array reduce, which is based on people's feedback, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah. That's a really good question. I still do some consultancy work precisely because otherwise I would feel like a fraud teaching people things that I no longer do on a day-to-day basis. But and I'm sorry to my few customers who might be listening to this, or my clients. I really like working for them. I've been working for both for years, so they are part of my fabric at this point. But I do treat them as guinea pigs as well. Like, they have some of the most amazing data sets, and I love kind of poring over those and figuring out what could we do with this. So I do use them to keep my edge sharp, first and foremost, like my own skill fitness, if you will, is dependent on having those clients. But I couldn't, when I design a course, I think it's less about how this would work in an in-house situation or agency situation, and more about like what is the shortest path to accumulating certain skills that you might need in agency side or client side or in-house side. And then I hope that people who take the course will take that stuff, open up discussions in the communities and say that, okay, we learned all this stuff. Now, how do I do CLV here? How do I do churn analysis here? How do I do purchase propensity here? So I hope that the use cases come on top of it, but I don't want to, like, introducing those use cases themselves to the curriculum would be kind of against what we are trying to do, which is keep things very bite-sized and generic. Because
Yeah,
then when you start doing like purchase propensity or whatever, it's going to balloon into a 30-minute super complicated layer up and layer up and layer up and layer kind of talk. But
that makes sense. And I guess I do like the concept of finding like the easiest way to get from A to
mm,
B, because that sometimes makes it's like Pep had this thing like you learn like in the complex learning, but just in time learning
yeah,
is having the skills to apply exactly when you need them. So like I
yeah,
think long term this bite size just in time type of learning kind of makes more sense in the fast paced environment that we're in, especially in an agency or even client side. Like we're expected to deliver fast, so I do like that a lot,
and
which
well, I
makes
mean,
me,
technical marketing is kind of resilient to
yeah,
a lot of theory. Like there's a tendency to stuff courses full of like background information, and I I actually learned during CXL. So you mentioned Pep, and Pep Laha is the
yeah,
founder of CXL, and we've both worked for him in one capacity or another. And when I built my first course for CXL, it was like these super long, 1.5 hour long
yeah,
marathon live webinar style things. And then my second course were still super long, but they were pre-recorded. And then it always just kind of it chewed on me that this makes sense. All of this stuff is important, but nobody in their right mind is going to watch 1.5 hours of me prattling on about advanced GTM stuff. So
they
now,
did, though they
yeah,
did,
many people did, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? But there's now CXL has also taken like the playbook approach,
yeah,
which inspired me in the task-based approach in Simmer. So just being able to select a video that takes 5 to 10 minutes to watch, and knowing that as soon as you've watched it, you can apply it. You don't
yeah,
have to think that, okay, that was a great amount of like theory and philosophy, but now I still have to go through 3 more videos until I know how to open the damn user interface. So I didn't want that. I wanted people to just do, and the kind of you get the knowledge and the background afterwards. I don't know if that's the right approach, but at least it seems to be working. I think people are at least they're learning the technical skills. They might not learn the kind of underlying fabric and the history of why those technical skills exist, but they are learning the skills, and that's enough for me for now.
yeah,
I
you're
think.
right. Even from the first lesson, you open the dev console and
Yeah,
you have
exactly.
the alert with "Hello World."
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. That should be a good way to start any course. Just how to do Hello World in whatever it is you're doing.
Which makes me press play on this song I have for you today.
I like it. It's very clashy. It's very like Sex Pistolsy. Good. Takes
This
me back.
means I want you to do the ad.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, weird music segues has now come, and we are ready to talk about Simmer again, which we've talked about it at length. But I guess what I want to say this time is, if you want to learn a skill, and if you just want to do stuff, you want to watch a video and then do it, then I hope that Simmer is the place for you. We have a bunch of courses. It's all self-paced, all bite-sized, all task-based. Well, I mean, we do have live components like webinars and stuff, but um, we hope that you take a look. It's teamsimmer.com and use the coupon code DEVIATE, that's DEVIATE, for 10% off your purchase. One day I'm going to spell that wrong, but today is not the day. So it's DEVIATE for 10% off at teamsimmer.com. Thank
And
you for your time.
yeah, and you'll find these links in the notes, and also this blog article that I just read from you recently, which I really, really liked. It's called, let me see, because I have it right here.
I
How can
cannot
I put
remember
the
what it's
array
called.
reduce method to use in
Yeah.
technical marketing. So see, just-in-time learning. I really
Array
love the
reduce is
article.
great. Is such an amazing method. Like array methods in general, like really keep me up at night. They're wonderful for JavaScript, but array reduce is like the golden goose. It's such a weird method because you take a complicated structure and you're going to just squeeze it, and
Into a
then the
single
little drops
value.
that come out are the single values that you might need. So that article is the kind of stuff we do at Simmer. So it's we know that there's a problem, we know that there's a knowledge gap, and we want to serve it. Okay, that's enough of self promotion for
I
for
think it's time for us to invite our guest in.
yes.
So who do we have today, Simo?
So Jen is one of these people in the industry who I've never met. She lives across the pond from us, and she's just such a powerhouse. Like I bet her clients love her to bits. Her employer is super, lucky to have her. Anytime she writes about anything, whether it's about analytics or Adobe or client work or browser tracking protections or board games, it's super insightful. So this is like a very geeky moment for me because I've always wanted to talk to Jenn Kunz from 33 Sticks. And I hope we get to talk about agency life because 33 Sticks has this. I think it's considered a very, very good company to work at. So I want to hear what the culture is like and what we could learn from them. We can maybe take to Doug Hall and Juliana Coquet and tell them how they should improve.
Maybe we should invite them also next in our next episode to
Oh,
see what
interesting.
they think.
Yeah, maybe we have them on as well. Yeah, that's a good
There
idea.
you go. Well, let's get Jenn Kunz on, and in the way we all are used to.
Woo! We have Jen in the building.
Hey,
Welcome to the show, Jen. How are you?
thanks. I'm good. I'm excited to do this. Thank you guys so much for inviting me on.
So before you came on, I was telling a story about how my day today began by stepping on a Lego brick. And I was looking for you because I know that your company, 33 Sticks, you had a Lego day. So where you were all, you were given a budget to buy some cool stuff and then you were building it. I'm trying to look in your room, like where was the stuff that you built?
It's in the other room, that particular one, but my whole house is overflowing with Legos. Like we literally have a room for
Nice.
Legos. It's my husband and my hobby and has been for a long time. So right now I have Hogwarts and Diagon Alley above me. I don't
Wait, do
think
you
I
have
have
the
anything
whole
else.
Hogwarts? Like all the
Yeah,
buildings?
I don't know if I can take the the camera and show, but yeah, they're just right up
Oh
there.
man, we'll leave that for our next episode about Lego.
Or you send us pictures and we
Yes,
put
I
them.
can send
You
some
can
pictures.
tweet it and we can put it in the episode notes.
There we go.
There you
Because,
go.
Yeah, I
because
don't think I could safely move my camera. I think there are too many cords involved.
that's amazing because I've been looking at those sets. Me and my son, we go through the Lego brochure and we kind of, this is not a healthy thing to do, but we kind of play, if we had as much money as we want, what would we buy? So it's
Oh
like this
yeah.
super capitalist exercise with my kid. But the Hogwarts stuff is amazing because
Yeah,
you
it is. There's a lot of really fun
yeah,
Harry
there's
Potter
one
stuff.
building, then there's another, and then there's a whole alley, and then there's all these books and
Yeah.
these common rooms.
Yeah. My husband and I realized early on in our marriage that instead of paying for a babysitter and a movie and dinner, that we could save, that's what, $150 or something in the end, if you, depending on how long you're out and where you go to eat and stuff, that we could just spend that on one of the cooler Lego sets.
Oh,
So
that's
we
so.
would have Lego date nights pretty regularly.
Oh
And
man,
over 16 years of marriage, that's equaled a lot of
It's a
Legos.
lot of
that is
Legos.
really really cool. I would like to join your next couple of dates, if that's okay. If you don't
Yeah,
want
we're
to
to the point that that's cool. Well, I mean, we have a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old anyway, so
yeah,
dates have long since ceased to be
yeah,
a
I
just
know the
two-person
feeling.
thing.
I think we can both identify with that. Um,
What is a date anymore?
yeah,
Yeah, right. No
well,
kidding.
it's when you step on a Lego brick, I think. But one question I do want to belabor the point is, what is the biggest set you've built, like one of those prepaid, like pre-packaged sets, like in terms of brick count?
The Avengers Helicarrier
Oh,
was a really big one.
oh,
We are really, really looking forward to. Oh my goodness, I know it's on my list of ones that I really want that they just announced that it's huge, and now I can't remember what it was.
Rivendell.
Yes,
Yeah.
Rivendell.
Oh,
Exactly.
so
Thank you.
good.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. The Disney Castle was really big and has a lot of really neat details and stuff
Oh,
in it.
How big is it? Like I built the house in the tree from Minecraft. That's my biggest one, and I
Oh, my
know I'm
son
lame
wants that so
probably.
bad. My son wants that so
It's
bad.
fun, but it took one day with breaks
Yeah.
because me and my son started fighting over who's gonna put the house first. I like how it's like a whole like a tube, but then you
Yeah.
can place the houses on it in different ways to
Oh,
make
pretty
it.
cool.
Yeah, then they move around. Yeah, it's fun, but
That's very Minecrafty.
Yeah,
yeah.
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 The Minecraft sets are fun. Yeah, the Rivendell one has over 6,000 pieces.
Oh
It's
shit.
insanely huge, and generally with Legos, about 10 cents per piece is
Yeah.
normal. So
Yeah.
it's actually a really good deal at 500 bucks.
This is the
Tell
sunk cost
ourselves.
fallacy speaking. It's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
really, really good deal. Yeah. How many date nights is 500
yeah,
bucks? Depends on where
yeah.
you live.
It's true.
So we can we mentioned 33 sticks, and one of the things we also talked about in addition to Lego bricks with Juliana was employment and working agency side and just what keeps us working for a certain employer. And I think that 33 sticks has this reputation, which we've already alluded to, like they let you build Lego, which I think is a very cool thing. But what's your history? Where did you come from before you came to 33 sticks, and why did you choose, or why did they choose you? What do you
So
think?
I've been at various agencies since 2006, but pretty much in the exact same role as a implementation, I guess, architect these days. But started at Omniture back in 2006. Took a couple years off to chase children around. In theory, that was the end. That I was not planning on a career. That I did Omniture for a couple years to put my husband through school, and then I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. And we did that for a little while and realized that I could make more money than my school teacher husband. And also, I am too validation needy to be a stay-at-home mom, and my husband does it with much more sanity than I could. So he's been a stay-at-home parent, and then I went back to work. And yeah, I've just been at different agencies ever since, uh, doing generally the same thing. I was at Adobe for a good long stint, and then 33 Sticks. I've now been here for 5 years, which for me, that's the longest I've ever been in one place.
Wow.
If I'm going to be consulting anywhere, 33 Sticks is the place that
Yeah.
I want to do it. I will say I don't fully love consulting anymore. It has its pros and cons. It's really hard to really pour your heart into something you don't have full control over the outcome of.
Yeah.
But I've got some good client partners right now, and but yeah, so 33 Sticks. It's we don't bill by the hour. It's project based, which means I don't have to do timesheets or anything. Also means that I can go down rabbit holes and not worry about eating up client time by learning about something that's maybe only adjacent to what they're asking me or something. Um, and Jason Thompson, the CEO, as you alluded, he's kind of a cultural phenomenon in and of himself, um, which is funny to me. He's got some social anxiety. He's a very quiet guy in person a lot of the time, um, but he really believes in the remote work and a lot of employee autonomy and all of that, which I really value. So
And he had these values placed before COVID. So when COVID came,
mhm.
you guys were actually prepared. You
Yeah,
already had
we've been remote all along.
yeah.
So, and to be honest, of the last 16 years of agency life for me, only maybe 4 or 5 months were spent not remote.
Wow.
I did a little stint at Search Discovery back when Search Discovery was younger, and they actually wanted people on site. Now they're all spread out, and remote works fine. But at the time, I had to commute to Midtown Atlanta, and that alone was just ugh, not my thing. Well, it's not. I actually like the commute. You get to listen to podcasts and all
Yeah.
of that. My problem was if I don't get home until 6 or 6:30, and at the time I had young kids who went to bed at say 7:30, I only got to see them for an hour, and they would make that hour count.
Mm,
And I'd get home from work like already like peopled out and too
yeah.
much sensory overload, and then my kids would try to get 24 hours worth of interaction into one
Yeah.
hour, and I was afraid their only memory of mommy would be of me. Okay, mommy needs space, So
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
yeah,
it's 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 the worst feeling in the world when you're super spent after a day at work and you know that your kids want your attention and you just too you just can't like you just can't do it. It's the
yeah,
worst feeling in the world.
it is. It definitely is. Yeah.
I think it's very relatable because it's kind of the same traction I had as well. And I think also what you're mentioning earlier, it's such an not talked about aspect of doing implementation work is the actual research and reverse engineering that goes into a client,
Mm.
because you have to do so much of that before you actually do the work,
Mhm.
because it's not just the business context, it's also the technical context. So if you have to do some, I don't know, tagging implementation or whatever, you have to first spend some hours researching how it's done, what are the implications, how it
Right.
can be fixed. And I agree that sometimes if you have a billable type of hours, I guess, model, it's hard to do that quality work, and because you cannot account it to the client, and it can be very frustrating for the employee per se, because you don't know exactly how to manage your time and make sure you're also your work is being accounted to the client. So definitely agree with that. We also work project based in the agency that I am in, Media Monks, and it's so much refreshing to be able
Mm.
to actually do that work and not worry, oh my god, did I have the timesheets done? Yeah.
Mm.
Well, and it goes two ways for me, that there's a lot of tasks that just because I've done them so many times, I can do very, very
Yeah.
quickly. So
Yeah.
it felt dishonest to put anything, but it took me 20 minutes on a timesheet. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but that's 20 minutes that might have taken somebody else way longer, or you got way more than your 20 minutes worth. But then again, I spent 2 hours yesterday researching cross-domain tracking on my own time, so that
Join the club.
evens
Join
out a
the
little
club,
bit. Yeah.
exactly.
But that's pretty cool. So when you're doing like project based pricing, you get to be in charge of the profitability. Like if you can choose that I'm going to be super efficient here, and you'll actually have a lot of buffer, and you can choose. Okay, so maybe we're happy keeping this super profitable, or I can use the extra buffer for more research and maybe more value
Mhm.
adding stuff.
Yep.
I my worst experiences with billable hours were when I was working for a very typical kind of faceless IT corporation, and some client calls me, has a 5-minute chat where they're angry about our product, and I know that the product is borked, and I say, okay, we'll fix it, and then I have to bill 1 hour for that 5-minute call. I have to do it.
Hmm.
It's so embarrassing. Like, not only
Yeah.
am I like super ashamed or embarrassed about the product, I also have to actually ask the client money because they exposed the bug to us because they were no longer in the warranty period or whatever. It's just
Mm.
it leads to such micro optimization, and it just leads to bad blood everywhere. What do you think? Like, is there a scenario where it works? Like, do you feel like
The
some?
hourly.
Yeah.
Um, I will say going project based does have some downsides. Like you have to be very, very careful about scope.
Mm.
And there are a lot of times where like our contract ends on the 15th and they haven't gotten all the paperwork through, that if it were hourly, it wouldn't be so big a deal to be like, well, I'll just keep going and keeping track of hours because we know it's going to
Yeah.
eventually come through, and we'll bill you for those. But if you're project based, there is no like recovery for time spent outside of the realm of the engagement. But yeah, the biggest thing is scope creep. It is very easy to all of a sudden have volunteered yourself for way more than the intended scope of the project.
Yeah.
So yeah, hourly can really help with that. 33 sticks, all 8 of us are kind of industry veterans, and think
Yeah.
hopefully by now are pretty good at managing the scope and all of that. But I don't know if it would work in all agency situations and with folks who hadn't had as much client experience and understand what's at risk, what's at stake here, um, as far as keeping things within the boundaries of the engagement.
So like, there's only 8 of you. Do you do teamwork? Like, do you build a team for a project still?
Um, yes, like we'll each there will be a single kind of client lead on any of our projects, and in some cases that might be the only person working on it. For a long time, I was the only person on my 2 main projects, but uh, we like during our kickoff calls, we'll introduce the whole team and say like, you might see any of these folks depending on what subject comes up. We all
Mm.
have different realms of expertise, so we might pull
I
in
see.
whoever. And again, we can do that because it's not hourly, and if all 4 of us are brainstorming on a thing, that's not 4 times the amount of billing. So yeah, we definitely team up. My favorite part of my job is swooping into other projects and solving a
Mm.
quick coding
Nice.
problem or something that I love the problem solving and troubleshooting. I like to think
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at it. a lot of these things are things that I know the answers for only because I've been doing this for so long and have encountered so many
Yeah.
weird situations. Um, and then I can pat myself on the back. Like I said earlier, I'm very validation needy, and I can say I solved the problem, we're good. Whereas my own projects, where it's like, okay, this is 18 months long, trying to rebuild their analytics practice, and hopefully 10 months from now, I'll get that pat on the back for,
Oh man.
I did the thing I set out to do, which is why I spend so much time on Measure Slack as well,
Yeah.
because I just need those daily kicks of
Yeah.
validation each day when my day job is maybe for longer term goals.
But it's like a fitness regime, right? We need to tackle these, like for us maybe kind of low level stuff, but just pure technical. Someone has a problem, we have the solution, and when you do this like 100 a week or something, you're keeping your fitness level up. Like
Yeah, yeah,
you're keeping a basic regime for it. I
totally.
think it's
Well, and you never know what's going to carry over. Like, I help someone
sure.
with some random project that has nothing to do with anything I'm currently doing, and then 4 days later, one of my clients has that same need. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I know the answer to this one.
That's really, really cool. Yeah, I've oh man, if there's nothing I'm more afraid of in a professional scenario is having like a blank sheet where somebody asks, write a strategy, or do like a
Oh
a
man.
process diagram. I would be so messed up. But then if there's like, we have this weird content security policy error on our website, what can we do about it? Then I'm like, oh yeah, give it to me.
Yeah.
It's such a people are wired in so many different ways, I think. Julian, where do you fall? Are you in the let's fix it or let's strategize camp?
Oh no, I like fixing stuff.
Yeah.
Doug Hall had a joke about this. Let's be tactical about being strategic. It's, it's like what are we talking about? I love fixing stuff, and I also am validation needy. And
Mhm.
when I fix something, I actually had a call today with my manager, and I said, listen, I feel like this week I've accomplished a lot of things, and I feel mediocrely good at Google Tag Manager now. For me, is a win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had no idea
We all
what I
start
was
somewhere.
doing. Yeah, I was like, I'm good. Give me another client. I will do this.
Yeah.
So I feel like the more we do stuff, it keeps our, it's just brain fitness and
Yeah.
keeping us going. But yeah, I'm obsessed with problem solving and puzzles. The more puzzles I have, the better, because personally, I'm like more of a self starter. So I don't wait around for other people to help me. I will start researching. I'll ask my teammates. Somebody's got to answer. And I have like 6 people in my team that I can reach out to. And if one doesn't answer, I go to the other. Then I go on Measure Slack. And luckily, you and Jen are there who probably answered this question beforehand. So it's very helpful for people like me that you guys exist, because we can, I can solve my own problems with the things that you do there. I also wanted to ask you something, Jen, because you mentioned Adobe so many times. I wanted to ask, how does the Adobe interface look like? Because I never seen it. I wasn't
I'd
one
love
of
to
the
give you a tour
chosen.
sometime. Yeah, Adobe. It's not used by a super ton of companies. It's one of those, like, the higher you go up, the Fortune 500, the
Yeah.
more Adobe folks you'll find, and often they also have implemented GA, because why not? It's free. Um, but yeah, Adobe, because I started at Omniture back in 2006, which became Adobe in
Yeah.
2008. That's been my main bread and butter. But I've done a lot of GA work as well, and felt very confident in it until GA4. And now it's every single day. I'm just like, the not the implementation. Implementation's fine, but the
Mm.
interface just makes me feel dumb.
Mm.
And I don't feel like I'm a dumb
No.
person. So yeah, GTM, I'm good. And we're good there, but still trying to master the GA4 reporting side of things without BigQuery.
We're in episode. This is episode 3
Free.
of the season. Are we ready to go to GA4 yet, or should we hold off for a couple more? Because
It's a loaded topic
it's gonna be a
for
Debbie
sure.
Downer for the rest of the season if we go there.
Well, I'll
But
just throw out what I've said so that if anybody else there is also feeling dumb from it, just, you're
Yeah.
not alone.
I think
It's
it's a universal truism that it is certainly making people feel dumb and not and intelligent people especially who have a
pun
lot of experience
intended,
in this
right?
field.
Universal truth.
Oh,
Pun intended.
well,
Pun
nice,
intended.
nice, nice, nice spot. Yeah.
I have this moments of brilliance. But listen, like, I want to ask you both actually, like, aren't we too obsessed with the tooling part? Because I see it's so many people talking UA this, GA that, Adobe, whatever, Amplitude. who cares? At
Mm,
the end of the day, if we don't understand the logic behind why we are collecting data, how we're collecting data, the purpose of the data, what does it matter what we're using? I mean, every company is going to use what they can, what they afford, or what they are fooled into believing that they need. But
mm,
at the end of the day, us that are practicing this, and I'm like you guys have been doing this for so long, I'm just starting to get the hangs of it. And even now, because I work mostly with GA, I don't have Adobe clients, thankfully, because I don't know how it looks like. But I just feel like clients also have some questions, and that have nothing to do with the tool. Like the business
Hmm.
questions that
mm,
clients have cannot be answered necessarily with the tool, which is like just a portal, game pun intended. It's just a portal to get to some sort of data. But like everyone is talking about these
mm,
tools, and they're trying to make it look like the tools and technology are like the biggest blocker of everything. And it's
Hmm.
all, oh yeah, it's GA, oh it's Matomo, it's PV. Who cares at the end of the day? Like, how do you guys feel about this tool fetishism?
No, I definitely think, if anything, I think people give the tools too much credit, or discredit, as the case may be, of, oh, I'm not getting enough value out of this tool. It must be the tool's fault. And never mind, it probably is that, the processes and the amount of resources and the attention and focus, that your company is willing to invest
mm,
in the tool has much more to do with the value the tool will provide than the tool itself does. And we see that time and time again, that folks will change tool sets, or just keep buying new tools and adding to their stack.
mm.
And instead of getting more value out of each new tool, they're just spreading themselves thinner and thinner and getting less value out of all of them.
Yeah.
Um,
And it does seem like a diversion as well. Like when an organization is not performing or isn't making best use of their data, instead of trying to fix what's wrong with the organization, they throw another tool at it because that tool then promises will help you. We have AI. We can now fix finally all these problems that you have. So I think that's one of the things that companies have a budget and they need to use that budget, and they use the budget typically either for staying in the same ecosystem, maybe because of a vendor lock-in or because of a sunk cost fallacy that they've already spent so much money in this stack, or they look for a new tool. And right now we're in a huge like transition period because a huge number of the world's companies and websites are forced to go through a very painful reevaluation. And now we're going to separate like the wheat. What's the expression?
the wheat from
Okay.
the chaff, or
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there's a Finnish version of that, which I didn't make sense for me to say that out loud. But so we're looking at companies that are actually reevaluating their own like processes right now, and they're the good ones. They know that now's our chance to step out of our like this path that we've been treading for the last 15 years because Google is so powerful. Versus then there's those who are kind of, it's GA4, we have to upgrade. We've been using GA3 before that. We've been using Classic and Urchin. We have to upgrade. So it's very interesting to see. I don't think there's ever been such a momentum here that, and it really a huge portion of an entire industry has to shift overnight almost, and we'll see where people navigate to.
well, and it used to be that, if folks were shifting their main analytics tool, it was almost always because of a change of leadership, that somebody
Mm,
came in who had previously worked with
yeah,
GA and didn't know Adobe at all, and therefore we're now a GA camp. And there's a little bit less of that. Certainly, there isn't a lot of leadership coming in that feels strongly like pro GA4, because nobody's had a chance to use it for very long.
yeah,
So instead, it's a real chance to evaluate things from
yeah.
scratch.
And we can only
Um,
hope that companies do it because really is a good time to press the reset button, and you don't have to kind of buy in. You don't have to tread the path that everybody else treads. You can actually,
yeah.
there's like, for me, it's been mind blowing to kind of step out of my box every now and a while. Just look at how many different solutions there are out there, and some of them are
Hmm.
completely homespun, and you can kind of put them up yourself. But yeah, I love that you're very diplomatic about this topic. I'm very we're very fortunate about this because this can get very nasty as well.
Well, it's interesting too, because, with you guys both based in Europe, I feel like Europe has more variety of tools. Like, certainly, all the tools are international; anyone can use any of them. But, um, I feel like we hear much less about a lot of
Mm,
the various tools over here.
yeah.
That it's much more of a, well, to be fair, some of it may be that I live in a bubble of Adobe. Um,
Mm,
but there are a lot of times where, I don't know if GDPR has forced it some.
Yeah.
But like Piwik Pro, you don't hear about in the US nearly as, yeah, certainly recently it's been more and more. But for a long time, there's a lot of tools I only heard about in a European
Yeah.
context. So.
That's a really good point. I mean, Google and Adobe are so huge in the US, like so
Yeah.
incredibly huge, and your main resellers are all in the States, or in North America at least. And I think that in Europe, definitely like the GDPR and especially Schrems 2, when these like data transfers between the EU and the US were invalidated, has just so many new solutions are popping up.
Yeah.
And we have like Snowplow and AT Internet and all these. Some of them are super old and some of them are super complicated. So I don't know why it's like that. Maybe it could be because Google and Adobe aren't such huge like lobby
Yeah.
presences
It
here
left some
in
room.
the EU. Yeah,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like we also have some of the biggest, or at least the most active, like GA user bases in the EU. Like we have, it's very interesting to see how it's so. Yeah, but it's been weird since those like landmark decisions in the courts, because
Yeah.
it's kind of throwing things off quite a bit.
Well, and it's just so in the open. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know when we're going to have definitive answers on things, so we're all just kind of holding our breath on a lot of that EU court decisions and stuff.
yeah,
I think you're right, and this is a great point because I haven't heard either about Matomo or Pivik until the whole GDPR thing kind of like started becoming more of a conversation, and until the UA rest in peace date has been announced. And I do like PV Pro, but there's a lot of tools out there that can be used, and I think what bothers me a lot, it's like probably because you both are like academia language people here. I feel bad because I didn't finish college. I was pregnant. I didn't finish college, but what bothers me is the language that happens in the market, and I might piss people off, but that's okay. I'm used to it. Even us as analysts are using this language. We have to upgrade. We have to upgrade. No, you don't have to upgrade. You can use whatever you want. Like, no, Google is not taking nobody and say, listen, you gotta upgrade to GA4. Forget about anything else, and you have to upgrade. Nobody has to upgrade. I think everyone has to assess what they're doing, assess what they want to be doing, and then evaluate whatever tool they want to use moving further based on privacy consideration, location, and so on. But nobody is forcing nobody into another tool, unless, of course, I don't know, there's some interest there. But I think, and me playing the devil advocate, I actually do like GA4. I'm probably one of the few people that do like it, but I think the reason why I am more onboarded into it is because I haven't worked with UA before. And as a product person, when you first land on a tool,
Mhm.
they're like, okay, this is what I have to work with. I don't know what was before, but now because I'm working with both, yes, of course I'm bothered about the standard reports and other stuff, just like everyone else.
Well, yeah, and that's really like there are cool things you can do with reporting in GA4, and I like
Yeah.
the event-based model and all of that. It's just the
Or the
reporting interface.
attribution part with the conversion paths and the different types of attribution models. Like, I love that stuff, but I think it's not fair the way we are positioning also as analysts this conversation, because nobody's forcing no one. I think it's a very interesting time, as Simo and you kind of like agreed upon earlier. It's a very interesting time for people to just assess, like, what have I done until now and what's next for me, and just be open to all of the sorts of opportunities. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna have one of these moments again in
Right.
the whole web analytics vendor type of situation.
Well, and I mean, to agree, they are forced. Folks are being forced to change, whether
Yeah,
that's upgrading within the same tool set or moving to another tool
Mhm.
set. But there
Yeah.
is some definite forcing going on.
yeah, for sure, a
Mm.
change. Yeah, exactly.
It's
And
just you
changes are
get to decide the
scary.
nature of that change. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we're about to start wrapping up. It's been wonderful to have Jen over here,
Yeah.
and I really hope that we get to do this again.
Yeah. We
In
didn't talk about board games nearly enough, Simo.
We didn't.
So
I had this wonderful segue about like alpha gamers and then teamwork, and we're just going to have to leave that for the next. And in the next, so okay, so Juliana, we need a photo of your Hogwarts setup, Jen, And then you
Okay.
have to send screenshots of the Adobe interface to Juliana so that she
Yes,
knows
Okay.
please.
what Adobe Analytics looks like. And next time we'll make sure that we'll have some cool Lego set in the background. I'll try
All
to
right.
like that as well.
For
Yeah.
people that want to connect with you, Jen, where can they find you? How they can reach out? I'm sure there's a lot of people that hearing this, and I am one of those people that want to talk to you more. Where they can connect with you?
I am still spending altogether too much time on Twitter, so I'm on there as Jenn_Kunz. I'm also on Mastodon, though I'll admit I'm not on there nearly as much. And then Measure Slack, that is probably the easiest and best way to have real conversations. So I'm on there a lot. Tend to hang out in the Adobe channels the most, but the lobby bar and the video game channel too.
Yeah.
And you were mentioning that you guys at 33 Sticks are doing a podcast as well, right?
Yeah, we do. It's mostly done by Jim Driscoll and Jason, so I'm on it every now and then. But it's called 33 Tangents, and I think you can get it wherever you get your podcast. But talking about the industry.
Cool. Well, for everyone listening, you will find all the links in the description, video description, or episode notes. Thank you for listening and watching wherever you are. Especially shouts to the people in Finland and Sweden that keep me high in the charts every week.
You have a
Thank you.
loyal following here. Jen, thank you so much
I
for
don't know
taking time out
how.
of your day.
Oh no, I really enjoyed it. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you,
It's a
Jen.
pleasure.
Talk
See you
to you
guys
soon.
next time.